Greetings. My pup Honey and I are sitting in the car, and I am considering starting to talk about special education and how to service the children that are in front of us with care and compassion in a way that we sometimes may forget in the day-to-day struggle of paperwork and stress and everything else that goes along with being a teacher. I was just in Sunday school, and we had someone come and talk, and the person who spoke was a former drug-addicted young person. This individual spoke of growing up in a family where drugs were accepted. He thought nothing of drinking or using marijuana specifically to begin with. He saw nothing wrong with it because that's what he saw all the time in his family. He spoke about how the minute he started back in the 6th grade was the first time he drank. It was cool, it was fun, it was exciting, and it was all he wanted to do in the 6th grade. By the time he was 13, he was regularly using marijuana and drinking. By the time he was 15, he was using meth. 15. Kids in my classroom are 16 years old. By the time he was 16 years old, he was shooting up meth in high school. He was selling, and he was using. And he was obviously a problem in high school. He'd been suspended a number of times for extended amounts of time. And he never saw anything wrong with what he was doing because it was part of his family culture. And his story continued after that, but that was what affected me. Was I do, in my level 1 direct instruction special education class, have a number of students who use drugs and alcohol regularly. I have heard of hard drugs being used, but for the most part, it's for consistency, it is marijuana and alcohol. And I just this week announced to someone who I share my struggles with the class with. I said, I do okay with a lot of what happens in my classroom, but the drug addicted kids are the ones I have the least amount of patience for. I really struggle with having compassion for the drug use in my classroom. As I should. I'm not discounting that should be something I don't like. But I have a lot of compassion for my anxiety kids, for my learning disabled kids, for my autistic kids. When you come to the hard cases of the drug addiction, my patience sometimes dries up. And I'm just feeling convicted on that because all of our kids in a special education classroom, no matter what level, are compromised. They can be compromised with their health, their mental well-being. They can be compromised because of trauma and all kinds of circumstances that we have no idea. We have no idea what informed that child for the first 15, 16 years of their lives. And I was just moved by a former drug addict who could be a kid that would be sitting in my classroom, who was only interested in shooting up meth and selling meth to other kids that were sitting right beside him. But when I listened to his story and how far he fell, how far down he had to go before he realized that he needed to get in rehab and get a leg up and turn himself over to a higher power. Before he did that, he went a long way down. Jail, divorce, abuse, bad. And I think to my kids, the ones I'm struggling with, the ones who I suspect are getting high at lunch and aren't high enough for me to call and have them evaluated, but there's this sneaking suspicion that they keep talking about food, 5th and 6th hour. I still need to reach them. I still need to have compassion for them. I still need to ask my Heavenly Father to help me to help them, and to not be years down the road when they decide that they've had enough. Years down the road when they wake up from their own filth and the destruction of their life. Will I be one of the voices that they remember and they want to use some of the things that I've imparted to them? Or will I be one more voice of condemnation, of disappointment and despair that they might not get up out of their filth because they don't feel worthy enough? Because God cares about them in their filth, in their destruction, in their pain and in their suffering, which they're probably self-medicating for. How can I better serve them for the 1 year that I have them in my classroom? I'm still thinking on that. I'm still processing through this, but it's time I start talking about it and making my struggle known, because I'm not the only one. I'm not the only teacher who's teaching high school, direct instruction, special education, who is dealing with constant drug use. So I'm going to begin this conversation, and I will continue it. For right now, I'm posing questions, and I'm asking God, what am I going to do? How am I going to reach these kids? How am I going to be a voice? I may not see the harvest, but how can I tend this field that I've been put in? To be continued.